Hello all. In this video what I'd like to do is talk about vantage point. When I'm thinking of vantage point and when I convey the idea of vantage point, it's in the manner of how we look at the subject. Focal point, the dog, is what we look at. Vantage point is how we look at it. So I'm using my dog as a subject. She's not allowed on the furniture, so when I walked into the kids' room, I noticed her on the furniture, so she was starting to creep off. I said, "Maggie, stay," and grabbed my camera to illustrate this point. So forgive her forlorn look because she thinks she's in trouble, but I was taking pictures of her while to illustrate this point, and she didn't know what was going on. She's a Belgian Malinois, supposedly tough police dog, but you'll see she is right here, very forlorn. So I want you to look at these three images, same subject, okay, different story, just by where I place the camera. Okay, so in this one, the viewer is in the position of power, looking down at the subject. And the viewer is just as much a part of this particular image, even though the viewer is not in the image, obviously. The viewer has to be taken into consideration because of the vantage point and how we're looking down at the dog. In this particular illustration, we now identify with the dog. We're at the eye level of the dog. So we're identifying with this subject. And then here, now the dog is in a position of power. So you can see same subject in all three of these images. However, by changing the vantage point, we have a different narrative. Viewer in the position of power, we identify with the subject. Now the subject, the dog, is in the position of power. What I'd like to do is just look at a few paintings and see how different artists have used vantage point. I'm going to use Harvey Dunn, again, one of my favorite illustrators. I want us to look at these three prairie paintings. Okay, I'm sorry that one's a little bit pixelated because I pulled it off the internet. But same basic subject. We're dealing with the prairie life. But look at the subtle changes of vantage point, how it gets lower and lower to the main subject, but it's a little bit higher. Well, this one runs right along the middle. But you notice the vantage point is above the farmer here. This is really hard work. So by putting the vantage point above the farmer really is a servant to the land. He's enveloped by the land. Okay, and then as we move to this particular painting of prairie life, again, sorry about the pixelization, but notice how the subject is now just barely breaking the horizon line. So our vantage point is right about here. So, and then notice he's got a game, a foul. He's got a gun. So now he's starting to conquer the environment because he's pushing above the horizon line. And then here, and I discussed this painting in a different video, but notice the vantage point here to the woman is right around the waist, just below the bust. So we look up at her and look at how she's breaking above the horizon line. It really gives her a position of power and strength. So again, we're looking at these three images, basically the same subject, prairie life, but based on where the horizon line is, eye level or vantage point, it tells a different story. So here's an image by Ryan Church, one of my favorite concept artists. In this one, it's kind of an establishing shot. We have some figures over here, but it's kind of an overall view. An establishing shot gives us a overall view of the particular environment. Really makes the viewer a passive observer. We're not really included into the illustration. In here, we have an illustration where we are included. We've got this open space. We have this chair here. We could have been occupying this chair and we stood up because of things in the immediate foreground. So you can also make the viewer either a passive observer of what's going on or include them in just by um, where you are placing the camera. Okay, so these two images, by just pulling back the camera a bit, okay, this image is really about what's going on outside of the tank, and then this image is really about what's going on inside of the tank. Love this image. This is one of my favorite paintings, or I mean, favorite children's book illustrators, David Catrow. And notice how low this vantage point is. It's absolutely fantastic. Obviously, the teachers always are large to little children. Look at how low. We're seeing the undersides of the desk. It's really an extreme view, but it really accentuates and diminishes the size and scale of the main figure there. And then we also have kind of a vantage point where you bring the subject right up close to you, really kind of almost confrontational. So where you place the camera, where you place the viewer, and what I talk about, or what I use the term vantage point as, how we look at something. So again, you can have the same subject, but a different story.